The great demon king Piccolo has succeeded in regaining his lost youth, so now he's one step closer to taking over the world. But those martial artists aren't going to kill themselves. Well, most of them aren't. So, Piccolo creates some more minions to... wait, he doesn't. In fact, he never mentions that part of the plan ever again. So now he's another step closer to taking over the world. But before he can do that, he has to stretch his evil muscles, so he summons Pilaf, Shu, and Mai to the bridge so he can, surprisingly, shockingly, betcha never saw that coming, betray them and literally throw them out of their own ship. We do eventually see that they survive, lamenting how pathetic they are, and sadly this is the last time they ever show up in the series. They've not only outlived their usefulness to Piccolo, but also to Toriyama. Arriving at King Castle, Piccolo and Piano... Oh, that's right, I've never mentioned Piano. Well, that's fine, because the story really hasn't up to this point either. He's been there, and he's said a few things, but he doesn't really even get a name until their betrayal of Pilaf. But now that Piccolo's no longer vomiting eggs, Piano really gets to step it up as Piccolo's right-hand demon. And I like this guy. It's nice that there's one demon who's not really a fighter, he's more of an attendant. He's like Alfred. And he just looks really cool. Plus, he has a neat death scene, but now I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, they arrive at King Castle and, they take it over. I mean, there's really not much more to say. They wreak havoc, they kill people, they take the king hostage. The most interesting thing is that the king is a dog, but then again, a dog was a tournament high priest or whatever too, so it really shouldn't be that surprising. And none of this is bad, don't get me wrong. It's good for what it is, but there's not much to dissect about it. But if there is anything to take away from this, it's Toriyama's important political message. When you put your faith in big centralized government, all it takes is one demon storming one building to completely take over the entire planet. It really is just that simple. I mean, geez, if the Dragon World had more than just one nation, Piccolo might have had to take over at least, 5 buildings before he could call it a day. Okay, to be fair, this actually does make sense. They aren't really playing by chess rules here where all you have to do to win is capture the king. The king refuses to just let some evil demon thing take over the world until Piccolo shows that if he doesn't, he can just wipe out entire cities. So the king lets Piccolo take over so he can systematically wipe out entire cities. There are a lot of times when writing these I actually try to set up a point so I can make a joke about it. This is one of those rare instances where I'm actually trying to be sincere until I start paying attention to what I'm writing and go, oh, huh. Well, until I wrote that, I thought it made sense. Oh well, at least the king going along with this ensures the people of the world will know in advance what's going to happen to them so that they can prepare accordingly. And that's good thinking, because you'd have to be pretty cold to watch people get ruthlessly slaughtered and decide you're just going to withhold the reason why. Pretty cold. So anyway, the world is divided into 43 districts, so to commemorate this day, every year on May 9th, Piccolo will draw a random number from a lottery box and destroy its corresponding district. Incidentally, this is the first date to ever appear in the series and contributes a lot towards later attempts at building an official timeline. When he draws District 29, Bluma's hometown of the Western Metropolis, there's now a ticking clock, not to mention oodles of trivia for all the nerds. However, in handling the Piccolo plot all at once, I've skipped over everyone else's plots, so let's get back to them lest you think this ticking clock is ticking as slowly as the one on planet Namek. The injured Goku reunites with Appa and Bora at Karin Tower. Yajirobe has fulfilled his duties of taking Goku there. Now, where's all that food he was promised? Oh, whoops. Sorry, actually the food you were promised, it's at the top of this impossibly tall tower I neglected to mention you now have to climb. Jeez, Goku's a jerk. No wonder Yajirobe's always so cranky whenever he gets near these people. Maybe he should have eaten Goku when he had the chance. There. I mentioned it. Happy now? Even with a complimentary launch from Bora, it still takes Yajirobe until nightfall to reach the top, right around the time Piccolo first meets the king. I've mentioned some similarities between Kududin and Yajirobe already, but just like his bald counterpart, now that Yajirobe has reached the secluded home of a wise mentor figure with the staff, he's really never going to leave again for any substantial period of time. And now DBZ Abridged can begin its /fic romance. But enough about that, Senzu! In just 2 pages, Toriyama really gets down and dirty with Senzu. First, we see that Karin keeps him in a huge pot. Well, we never see that again, so not a huge deal. Second, Yajirobe flips his lid when he finds out this stupid little bean was the meal he was promised, but that doesn't stop him from stuffing his face with them anyway. And he gets to learn firsthand the consequences of eating dozens of beans that each possess the property of filling up the eater for 10 days. But this humorous image is the last time its original function will ever be mentioned again, as now Toriyama comes up with the idea for which Senzu is truly remembered: video game health restorative. Just like hamburgers and trash cans for Ness and pork chops in a wall for Simon Belmont, whenever Goku and friends eat a Senzu, their HP is fully restored. There are times, especially near the end of the series, when Senzu seem to make things too convenient until that exact moment in the story when they need to run out of them, so they do. But this shift did promote them from one-off mystical items to one of Dragon Ball's most enduring and defining items, like capsules. Karin informs Goku, who we finally learn has returned to receive more training, that there is nothing left to teach him. He lets Goku know that the Muten Roshi is dead, and when Goku starts to run off on yet another roaring rampage of revenge that will certainly lead to his death, Karin figures, if you're going to die anyway, why not drink this poison I have lying around? And so Karin reveals the Cho Shinsui, or Super God Water, a black liquid in a teapot that is said by someone to unlock all the hidden strength within one who drinks it. But there is a catch. If someone has already unlocked all of his hidden strength, the water will do nothing. Also, it's very dangerous. So dangerous that of the 14 people who've attempted to drink it, none survived to verify if the whole power-releasing thing was even true. So presumably, since Karin talks about it as if it was a legend, he didn't make this stuff. The story never says when or how Karin got it, but he does seem fairly certain that it's exactly 14 people who've died. That being the case, I kinda have to assume that he's the one who passed this stuff out to at least some of the people. He seems rather cheerful for someone who's had over a dozen people die in his home. What do you do with the bodies? I just keep imagining him lugging each one to the railing, pushing them over the top of the tower, slumping down against a pillar, and then doing that thing where he licks his paw and then cleans his face with it. And that makes me laugh. A lot. Yajirobe dips his finger in the cup and then licks it, and even that's enough to almost kill him. But Goku is resolute in his desire to defeat Piccolo, so he downs the thing, writhes around for several hours, and then the next morning gets over that and is all powered up. So, the Cho Shinsui. Yet another Red Ribbon repeat. And don't you open your mouth to try and argue with me. This is by far the most blatant and laziest of them all. In case you've forgotten, in the Red Ribbon arc, Goku scales Karin Tower in order to drink the Cho Seisui. Cho Seisui. Cho Shinsui. Good grief, even the names are almost exactly the same. Seriously, it took me years just to remember which one was which. Even the one part of the word that does change means nearly the same thing. In the title page for the chapter in which the water's first mentioned, Toriyama even admits he'd been extremely ill and feverish while working on this chapter, and I believe it. But okay, I already established in the first part that I believe this is a copy. This is not new news to any of you watching this. How does it compare to what came before? Well, if you remember the episode of Dragon Ball Dissection when the Cho Seisui was introduced, you might recall that I had plenty of good things to say about that. I said that Karin was a trickster mentor, so the fake power-up with a lesson attached was both a nice surprise and fit his character. I also said I appreciated the idea expressed that it was hard work and improved skill that makes you stronger and that there is no quick fix. With that in mind, you should not be surprised to find that I'm extremely disappointed that the Cho Shinsui pretty much takes all of that and does the exact opposite. Here, Goku needs to get stronger, so Karin injects him with steroids and he gets stronger. He doesn't learn anything, he doesn't grow as a person, he doesn't earn anything, he just gets a hardware upgrade. There's nothing interesting about that. And the fact that it's the same mentor character who's now reduced to undermining his own message makes it that much more insulting. And yes, I know some of you are already gnashing your teeth at me if you haven't already gnashed your fingers against the keyboard to leave a comment refuting me, but if you haven't done that yet, please allow me to go ahead and address what I know you're yelling. What do you mean he didn't earn it? He took a huge gamble that put his life at stake and had to endure hours of excruciating pain. Yes, he does. But that's all external. There's nothing there to connect it with the audience. Yes, it was very brave of Goku to risk his own life to drink this stuff, and it speaks very highly of his character. But he was already intent on dying, so it's not as if he had to make a hard choice here. In fact, he's been running off to near certain death for this entire story arc. So all we get to see is him briefly writhing around in pain, which sucks for him, but it's not done in a way that's terribly engaging or really establishes in any concrete way that Goku is overcoming something extremely difficult. Let me put it this way. If a character suffers a broken arm, I understand that pain. If a character loses a best friend, I understand that pain. Both of those examples are specific enough that even if I've never had that exact experience, I can still connect and empathize. When Goku takes a shot and starts screaming, I have no idea what that means other than the very vague notion that he's in pain, but I don't know why. I don't know where. I don't know how much. Nothing connects me to Goku's pain, so it makes it very difficult for me to be invested. In fact, the story just cuts away and then comes back the next day when it's all over. It really makes me wonder what Karin and Yajirobe were doing that whole time. Did they really just watch him scream for several hours? Or were there moments like, I really need to go to the bathroom, let me know if I miss anything important. Or, yeesh, I'm trying to sleep here, could you please be a little more considerate and stop screaming? However, here's an idea I've come up with that would do something to explain it so it makes sense. It's always been the legend that whoever climbs Karin Tower will meet a wise sage who will give him a holy water that will increase his strength many times over. So what if that water was originally the Choshinsui? But after so many people climbed the tower, drank it, and died, Karin became disillusioned with the whole thing. He decided that such methods to gaining power were foolhardy, and he felt guilty over killing so many people. But since people would continue to climb the tower looking for this magic water, he filled a chalice with ordinary rainwater, the Choseisui, to replace it, thereby actually rewarding people who climbed his tower rather than just killing them. And through it he was able to instill a lesson of hard work that he found more instrumental, and it was only when there was no other way that he brought the Choshinsui out again. It would even explain why the names are so similar. Anyway, that's the best I have. So Goku is full of power, and now he's calm rather than full of anger, and he can even sense where Piccolo is. For all I complain about the means of the power-up, it does certainly have tangible results. And so Goku can reach Piccolo, Karin offers him a new Kintone. It turns out that there is one huge Kintone that Karin owns, and it was from this that Kame Sennin plucked off a small piece that was ultimately given to Goku. So yeah, another Red Ribbon repeat, like I said before, but I actually like this one, believe it or not. While losing the original Kintone is a bit sad, especially considering this new one's not going to be used all that much, it's not really a character, but a tool. And losing it was always more of a means of limiting Goku, not an attempt to wring out some cheap drama through another easily reversible death. It had already been established that Kame Sennin knew Karin, it had also been established that Kame Sennin received Kintone from God. Well, that's a bit difficult to reconcile entirely, but Karin is a divine-type figure, so I can live with it. And since we are going to meet God in this story arc, and it's going to be established that Kame Sennin doesn't know him, it needed to be dealt with somehow, and this is actually a mostly seamless way that ties in previous continuity. So well done. Of course, part of this hinges on the assumption that Toriyama had come up with the idea of God by this point in the story, which is a huge leap on my part. So now that Goku's lived a rerun of his own life, he hops on his magic flying cloud so he can intercept Piccolo.